there's only one undefeated team at this stage. That is the Texas Longhorns. One loss, Texas A&M, surprise team. Their losses to Notre Dame, out of conference. So they're unbeaten in the conference. LSU, their losses to USC, that's out of conference. So they're 2-0 in conference. Then we got Georgia. We got who lost to Alabama. Tennessee, and Missouri. Alabama and Tennessee play this weekend. A lot of contenders to get 4 bids. I feel like there'll be a lot of pressure on the committee to give them 4 bids. I'm not saying they don't deserve 4 bids. But how do you see this playing out, Pat? There is an astounding number of games still to go. Georgia goes to Texas, Alabama goes to Tennessee, Missouri goes to Alabama, LSU goes to A&M, Alabama at LSU, Georgia at Texas, Tennessee at Georgia, Texas A&M at, and then there's these what is Arkansas, what is Vanderbilt, what is Florida, all sorts of stuff going on. What do you see happening?
Yeah, this is just going to be wild, I think. There are a bunch of contenders, and they play each other a lot. And we're going to start clearing some things out maybe a little bit this weekend, obviously with the 2 bonkers SEC games, Georgia, Texas, and Alabama at Tennessee. And we'll see a little bit more where we stand there. But, Texas is in great position right now. Texas A&M's the sneaky one there. As you noted, their one loss is non-conference, and it's a good loss. It was at home, but it was to Notre Dame, which is a quality opponent. A&M, I think, has got a bit of a path to be able to make a run to getting maybe to the SEC championship game with no worse than a 10-2 record, maybe even 11-1. But then, Georgia, LSU, the winner of Alabama, Tennessee, there's just going to be a big pileup of teams there, and there's going to be a lot of squabbling about strength of schedule and who did what and where they played. But the championship game, I would not be shocked. And here again, is the championship game really worth it or not? What if we have Texas and Texas A&M play back-to-back weeks? I mean, we haven't seen them play since 2011. They're going to play in College Station to end the regular season. A&M's schedule, I think, gives them a chance to then get to the championship game. But long way to go to get there. But I think the SEC is a 4-bid league and will be arguing like hell for 5.
Oh, yeah. And let me go back. Since there's 6 one-loss teams, right? I think there's 6, isn't there?
I named off a lot of schools.
Yeah, 6 one-loss SEC teams. It's pretty crazy right now. We'll go back to Nashville, Dan, where SEC and Big Ten leaders met last week. In the news conference, it's fair to say they fired a shot toward the selection committee, basically saying, we will see how the selection goes, and if it doesn't go good for our schools, and if our playoff worthy schools get left out for schools from other leagues, then we will, think very seriously about changing the format. They made it pretty clear. I think Greg Sankey said something like, things better go well, or something to that regard with the selection process.
They have to go incredibly well.
Incredibly well, yeah. So it's pretty clear that maybe they're going to change the format no matter what, right? Or they're definitely going to change the format if they don't get enough teams in. And I think you look at the SEC's slate, and there could be at least three schools all kind of knotted up at 10-2, with a couple more maybe even at 11-1. And I don't know how they're going to tell the difference in that grouping. Is going to be hard because some of these schools don't play each other. So it's going to be hard to tell the difference there of who gets in, who gets out. And then what if you're left with, again, a Big 12 or ACC championship game loser at 10-2 or 11-2 or even 10-3? And those are going to be the really, really hard decisions for the 10, 11, and 9 seed. And I think the Big Ten and SEC in the press conference last week in Nashville made it pretty clear that that what they want, and they want strength of schedule, to be at the forefront of the committee's mind. So this should be an interesting selection process, to say the least.
So I mean, they're going to do that. I don't know what to make of this, because like we were just saying, okay, the Big Ten, yeah, they got some good teams, but their only non-conference victory of note is USC over LSU. In
the last minute in the first week of the season.
Yeah, like that's all they got. And that's probably all they're going to get. What's the next best one? I don't know. Penn State over West Virginia or something?
Yeah, probably.
Oregon over Boise State. Again, last second at home. That might be their second best non-conference win. I don't know. I'd have to really run through it, but there isn't a whole lot there. And so you sit there and go, well, we deserve all these bids. SEC, again, we're talking about one bid maybe from the ACC, and then Notre Dame, who could potentially beat A&M. Georgia beat Clemson. That's important. But it's not like there's this mountain of evidence. There's the same thing last year. The ACC beat the SEC heads up in the games they played, but the SEC gets the nod. There's a lot going into that Alabama-Florida State thing. But at what point do you have to prove it in the non-conference? This is I know I all due respect for all these teams. I think they're all capable, but it's when do you have to earn it?
I mean, the comments that came out of Nashville, I thought were so insulting. This is such an oligarchy is what it is. It's a Big Ten SEC oligarchy cabal. We're going to decide by ourselves what we think is best for ourselves, but everyone's involved. This is not a level playing field. It isn't.
They're trying to beat the monopoly talk, because it's that's what they're trying to do. Everyone's involved, but we make the rules. Okay.
Yeah, we make the rules, and we will watch the selection committee, and then we will decide whether you were kowtowing sufficiently to our schools, to our liking. And then if we say, no, you didn't, because you left out Alabama as our fifth team, or you left out Indiana as the Big Ten's fourth team, then guess what? We'll just take those bids via executive fiat, because they already got control of the format of the playoff. We're rigging the game here, and you don't have to do that. If the Big Ten might want to rig the game, because as you alluded to, Dan, they're quite frankly a bit of a paper tiger in terms of non-conference play. The SEC has earned the right to demand, not necessarily demand, but to get more of the bids. But again, just go earn it on the field. You don't have to legislate it.
Well, Big Ten had the championship game last year, technically. I just what point are they going to flip out and take their ball? Okay, let's say Clemson beats Miami in the title game of the ACC, but Miami's undefeated. They get in, and Notre Dame gets in, and you're saying, well, these two teams aren't worthy. We should have 5 or 6 bids here. And you go, well, Miami beat Florida at Florida, and Notre Dame beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M, and they lost to NIU, but I just feel like if the SEC and Big Ten just play this out, they're going to get 8. You're going to average 8 bids every year. Instead, don't sit there and be like, well, that's it. We got to expand it and have all. It's just play. You've got all the other advantages. It's very possible you're going to get 8 spots here. I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. There's going to be losses. When you start predicting the victories, that's just what, Alabama was all set. Now they aren't. Anything can happen in this thing. And the SEC may cannibalize itself because they've got too much money at all the schools. Problem with having too much money is everyone's got it.
Yep. That's why you're going to be hearing so much screaming about strength of schedule if that happens, if these teams all start racking up losses in those leagues.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong. We'll see.